want to give a shout out to Sin Zosa in Philly. Hotep to you, my brother, to you and your wonderful, to you and the I bet, to your beautiful family. We wanted to say Uncle Jasineb, life, health, prosperity, and strength. And for everyone who is a member of the Now Valley Movement Facebook group, I salute you. And I thank you for being with us and for sharing your presence and your car with us. And I'm here to share my car with you. So, welcome to the very first Seba session, teaching session, by myself, Shakka Ahmose. And this evening, December 21st, 2014, according to the Gregorian calendar, I'm going to be discoursing on my text, Codex Game Over, a documented collation of the original ancient Egyptian African text and the later biblical plagiarized versions. Evidence you were never meant to see. Now, for those of you who bought this book, who purchased this, I say dua and thank you to you. I want to make it known to everybody who purchased this that I didn't put all of the concepts about the book in the book because I wanted to be able to explain it to you. Various things about the book. One of the first things that you should know, I'm just going to take a quick run through the PowerPoint to see what's present. I don't think I have anything. I don't think I have Samuel Mercer's thing here yet. I doubt it. However, wow, I'm surprised I didn't put that in there. It's just so much work to do. Sometimes I actually forget to put things in. So that's just an honest truth. But it's not going to stop us from what needs to be addressed. Let's see here. In a minute. Go to the first one, number 1, 4, 3, 2. And there should be a few things there before that. Yeah, okay, right. Yes, Mary's pyramid text, right. I'm surprised I didn't put the other thing in there. Wow. That really sucks. But in any event, oh, it is there. Well, part of it is there. Okay, well, there's some stuff missing from this PowerPoint that I'm going to have to add later. I'm going to do a revised version of this PowerPoint. In fact, I'm going to do this PowerPoint again. Just in case I left out anything, I'm going to do it again. So it'll be revised. It'll have more information, but it's going to be on the same subject matter on this book, Codex Game Over, Volume 1, the Pyramid Text. Okay? We're going to be discussing tonight the Pyramid Text in this book, why I chose the material that I chose, and where it came from. It's very important. We're going to discuss that. Okay? I'm a bit disappointed in myself that certain things I neglected to put on here. But I'll put it on in part B to this presentation. So we're going to call this part A. Okay? This is part A. The official title of this lecture is The Explication of Codex Game Over. Okay? I'm going to be discoursing on it. So let's talk about it. What can they see by way of the PowerPoint at this present moment? I'd like to know. Everything. They can see everything. So they have two screens that they're looking at. It's a split screen. Myself on one side and the PowerPoint on the other side? Or is it just the PowerPoint and they can hear me?
Well,
I need to know what they're seeing in real time.
they're seeing the actual screen in real time, and when you start talking, you give me the signal and I'll put it back on you.
Okay, cool. That's okay. You can put it on me now. Okay? So, anytime that I want the PowerPoint, I'll just say PP. Okay? Or, no, I'll say double P.
Okay, slide.
Okay, slide. There you go. There you go. Cool. See, I'm learning the jargon, folks. I'm learning the jargon. So, oops, gotta be careful with the microphone. My microphone will be fixed for part B. We had a technical difficulty with our original microphone, so we're using a backup mic, and hopefully it will behave. Okay. In fact, we're gonna make sure it behaves right now. So, cool. There we go. Now I don't have to worry about it falling off. Can it hear me? Am I picking up okay? Okay, wonderful. So, when this book first came out, one of the first complaints that I got was from a Hebrew Israelite. I'm pretty sure, or a Moorish Hebrew Israelite Kemetic person. You have these hybrid people out there with their, as far as their doctrine is concerned. And this person, I think, was a Moorish Kemetic Hebrew Israelite, whatever that is. Sounds like a confused person to me. Very confused. One of the complaints that I got from this book, and there haven't been many, but the few that have come, I pay attention to them. I disagree with all of them, and that's fine. That there are going to be those who have their gripes, mostly Hebrew Israelites, or self-described Hebrew Israelites. The first complaint that I got was, for those of you who own the book, if you open the book up to the very first collation, to collation number 1, collation number 1 is taken from the pyramid text, utterance 412, verse 732b. Now, inside the book, I never make the claim that the particular pyramid text that these texts were taken from was the Pyramid of Unas, which are the original, the very first pyramid text. They're the oldest source of the pyramid text that we have. The particular pyramid text that I used for my book, the majority of them come from the pyramid text of Unas' grandchildren, his grandson and his granddaughter. That would be the pyramid text of Pepi II and his sister/wife. It's kind of hard to pronounce her name. Give me 1 second, and I'll show you I'll pronounce it for you correctly. Let's see. Oh, hopefully I will. I don't even know if I included that in here. It should be in here. Yeah, it is in here. His granddaughter, Neat, actually. Yeah, I was thinking about his other granddaughter, Neat. So the pyramid texts that comprise of the pyramid text in this text, the majority of them come from the pyramid text of Pepi II and his wife/sister, Neat. So these are genuine pyramid texts in here, okay? I just didn't use the pyramid text of Unas. So if you go looking for utterance 412, verse 732b in the pyramid text of Unas, you're not going to find it because I did not use those pyramid texts for this book. Why? The reason being is that the pyramid text from which these collations come, these are from the very first translation of the pyramid text in English. Okay? Sanwa, did you want to share something with me? Okay. The very first pyramid texts that were ever translated into English, because I don't think any of you, if I had used the German translation, I don't think any of you read German. I don't think many of you read the Medunecha itself, the Medunecha language itself. So I think most of you read in English, correct me if I'm wrong. So I chose the first English translation of the pyramid text. I chose the very first translation in English. I didn't choose later translations in English by people like James P. Allen and others, because there have been other translations since then. Translations that I consider to be inferior, not as good as the original translation in English, which was done by Samuel B. Mercer. Look it up. Look him up. Samuel B. Mercer. His pyramid texts are available to read online. So if you Google pyramid text Samuel B. Mercer, you will see his pyramid texts come up online and you can read them. You can go right to the index. Okay? They are featured on a website called sacredtext.com, a very, very special website that was put together by a very special man who is no longer who was no longer with us, so to speak. He's no longer living. Passed away a few years ago. But sacredtext.com features very rare text that were put online. And the reason that he put them online is because they were a part of the copyright claim ran out a few years ago. So they were made part of the public domain. So he was able to put them online legally. So I had very easy access to them, just as you do. So that, and I'll show you the documentation for that when I do part B to this. I'm going to rehash this. I'm going to come back to this. I'm going to show you the actual documentation as to why I chose Samuel Mercer's original English translation of the pyramid text, because it's the very first translation done in English. I mean, I think that says it all. You know? I mean, I would like to think it does. So, I mean, that was good enough for me. Let me see. Do I have it? Yeah, I have it right here. Look at that. I do have it here. Man, I'm good. Okay, you know what? Let's just go ahead and do this. Let's have some fun. Okay? All right. Slide. Now, they can hear me when the slide is going, yes. Okay. I want you to look at the price of that book. $2,096.42. Hebrew is Greek, Joseph P. Yehuda. The Elephantine Papyri. Okay? The Elephantine Papyri in English. 3 millennia of course, cultural continuity and change. You see the price? It's $400. $383. $400. Okay? I own it. I have it. Okay? This is the coffin text, the ancient Egyptian coffin. You see the price? It's almost $1,000. $800. Used $700. I own it. Okay? I have it right here on my table next to me. Okay. Let's cut through all of this gunk here. Right? Forget that. You can put it back. Okay, I want you to read this with me, those of you who are watching. The pyramid texts of ancient Egypt. The pyramid texts are the oldest religious texts in the world. Ancient History Encyclopedia. There you can see the what do you call the link? You can see the link right next to it. Okay. The quote came from Professor Joshua J. Mark of Marist College. Marist College is an old Catholic college that was founded in 1905. He's the co-founder, editor, director, and contributor of Ancient History Encyclopedia. He's also the recipient of the Faculty of the Year Award, which means he is not a dunce. He's not a stupid person who doesn't know what he's talking about. Okay? I repeat his quote in his text, the Ancient History Encyclopedia, his online text, said, the pyramid texts are the oldest religious text in the world. That's for you Hebrew Israelites and Christianists who need to believe that civilization started in Mesopotamia, because if it did, then they should also have the oldest religious text in the world, but unfortunately they don't. So that tells us that there's something wrong with that premise. Now, these are the pyramid texts of Unas. These are the original pyramid texts. They are found in Africa, in southern Egypt, in a place called Saqqara. Okay? It is from these texts that you get the Bible, both Old and New Testament, and the Quran. Yes, they all come from these texts, the pyramid text. Okay? Now, let's continue. The place of origin of the biblical scripture is right here, the Pyramid of Unis, Saqqara, Egypt, Africa, established about 2400 BC. These are very conservative dates. Just for teaching's sake, we are going to use Western dating chronology. These are not dates set in stone, but because we are going with the standard academic assessment of dates, that's the dates that we're going to go with for now, until we prove that these dates are far too young for anything related to ancient Egypt. Okay? In any event, these, now look at the screen for those of you who are watching. These are the pyramid texts that I used. I used the translation by Samuel A.B. Mercer. Okay? The copyright from 1952 was not renewed. That's why it was legally able to be put online at Sacred Text ISTA. It's called ISTA. So if you Google ISTA, John Bruno here, it'll come up. Sacred Text Archives, International Sacred Text Archives. I'm pretty sure the I stands for international. So in any event, I'm going to read this to you. Okay? The pyramid texts were funerary inscriptions that were written on the walls of the early ancient Egyptian pyramids at Saqqara. These date back to the 5th and 6th dynasties, approximately the years 2350 to 2175 BCE. However, because of the extensive internal evidence, it is believed that they were composed much earlier, which means that these pyramid texts are older than the date given for them in being carved in the pyramids. The evidence says that they date back further, okay? Almost 1,000 years, okay? Pardon me, yeah, almost 1,000 years. The pyramid texts are therefore essentially the oldest sacred texts known. This is a quote from Sacred Text Archives, from where I got the pyramid text from, okay? They are the oldest sacred texts known. Samuel Mercer was the first to produce a complete English translation of this mysterious text in 1952. This was also the first complete translation in any language. Put it on me for a second, the camera. That's why I use this text for this book. I will read that to you again. Samuel Mercer was the first to produce a complete English translation of this mysterious text. They're talking about the pyramid text in 1952. This was also the first complete translation in any language. I didn't use just any translation for my book. Okay? See, the problem with people trying to critique my book is that they don't know anything about the various translations. In fact, they don't know anything about much, but they want to try to critique my book. Okay? This is light work for me. So, in any event, they're the first English translation, complete English translation of the pyramid text. Okay? This was also the first complete translation in any language. So you need to hold on to that. Okay? You can keep it on me. The Mercer translation was followed by the R.O. Faulkner translation in 1969, which is considered the standard today. Okay? Put it on there because I want them to see that. Put it on screen. I'm going to show it to you right here at the bottom of the first column. The Mercer translation was followed by the R.O. Faulkner translation in 1969, which is considered the standard today. Now, before we move on, put it back on me. I'll just say me. Before we move on, I want to let you know, even though R.O. Faulkner's translation is considered to be the standard, I did not use his translation. because his translation is more corrupt than they would let you believe, than they would tell you, than what you know. I have a study here that I'm going to show you later on to prove it, to document it, that R.O. Faulkner's translation, even though it's considered the standard, it is very corrupt. There are intentional changes in his translation that were put there purposefully in order to separate the ancient Egyptian origins of the biblical literature. He was an agent sent in to sterilize the ancient Egyptian text. Okay? That's why I don't use Mercer's translation. Okay? However, screen. However, this does not diminish the usefulness of Mercer's version, which means that Mercer's version, the original translation, people, is still valid and can still be used. That's why I used it for Codex Game Over. Okay? The 4-volume edition from which this first volume was taken is today very rare and sells for upwards of $800 on the used market. How many of you have $800 to spend on the original complete English translation of the pyramid text? How many of you are going to spend $800 on it? Okay, see, not only did I bring it to you, I brought it to you in my collation. That's what makes my book valuable. I used the rarest translation of the pyramid text. Okay? This work is in the public domain in the United States. It will not be in the public domain in the UK and Europe until 2022. So Europeans have to wait until 2022 until they can legally put this out in their public arena. Okay, you got it here in my book. You don't know the value of Codex Game Over. Me? You already had it on me? Shouldn't be on me unless I know it. I might pick my nose or something. We wouldn't want that now, would we, Sinray? Okay? So, this book is not a joke and it's not a game. I did not use just any translation. I used the original English, complete English translation, which will cost you upwards of $800. The documentation in front of you. Look, would you put it back there, please, so they can see it? Screen. Okay. Look at the second column. Sells upward of $800 on the used market. So for you to get this translation that I used on the used market is going to cost upward of $800 for all of you so-called scholars out there who think you know what you're talking about. Okay? Now, let's go to the next one. The Pyramid Text by Samuel B. Translation. Preface. I thought I read that. Okay, I guess I didn't. The pyramid texts of ancient Egypt are the oldest large body of written material in the world. Okay? This is from the site. I did not write this. This is from Internet Sacred Text Archives. That's what it stands for, Internet Sacred Text Archives. This is their essay. The pyramid texts of ancient Egypt are the oldest large body of written material in the world. They are and they're not Egyptologists, by the way. The people who wrote this part are not Egyptologists. Okay? The pyramid texts of ancient Egypt are the oldest large body of written material in the world. They are incised on limestone and thousands of lines of hieroglyphics containing fragments of myths and legends, historical reference and astronomical lore, geography and cosmology, religion and rituals, systems of theology, festivals, magic, and morals, and with a literary technique capable of expressing the finest religious and ethical thoughts. For you people who think that the Torah is the best and the Torah is the greatest and nothing passes the Torah, I'm going to read that line for you again. It says the pyramid text has a literary technique capable of expressing the finest religious and ethical thoughts. The purpose of this work is to furnish in English a translation and commentary of these texts. A translation and commentary which make use of all the texts at present extant and known to the author, and which is designed to be a standard but interim work in this subject until such time in the future as all remaining pyramid texts will have been discovered, which will then, it is hoped, make possible the writing of a complete and definitive work. So remember, so these are just some of the texts. These are not even all of the pyramid texts, okay? The contribution of this publication will be the first translation in English of the ancient pyramid text, the first complete translation and full commentary of the text in any language. So for you fools who want to cast aspersion on my book, Codex Game Over, me. All right? For you people who want to try to cast aspersion on my text, the research that went into this is so far beyond you that you couldn't sit in the same room with me and have a discussion about it because you're not there yet. Okay? I use the first complete translation in any language as the underlying text from my original collation in Codex Game Over. I should be charging twice as much as I'm charging for it. Okay? To deal with Negroes, I'll tell you, boy, my people, I love them to death. Anyway, let's continue. Back on the screen. And in addition to the hieroglyphic text of seats and over 400 lines in translation from the over 400 lines in translation from the pyramids of Neat and Pepi II. As I told you, the majority of the texts come from the pyramids of Neat and Pepi II. These are the grandchildren of Unas. So these would be the grandbabies of the pyramid text. Okay? And other pyramid tombs and sarcophagi discovered since the publication of Seat's unfinished translation. So these came from a multiple sources of pyramid text. It's not just one or two, but multiple sources of pyramid text. So don't go looking in just one, and because you don't find a translation that I use there, think that it's not there. It's there. They used multiple sources. Okay? So let's put all of that nonsense to rest. Okay, anyway, where am I? Pyramid, tomb, sarcophagi, right. Fuller details of these texts, their discovery, nature, extent, and value are given in the introduction. Okay, let's go back, because they mentioned the lacunae. Where is it? I'm pretty sure they did. Did they? Or does lacunae come? I didn't highlight the word lacunae. Are you serious? Hold on a second. I have to find it because it's important. No. Pyramid text, it's the tombs. Oh, it is here, right here. Okay, I want to go back and read something to you. It's on screen. In the second column of the Pyramid Text Translation by Samuel A. B. Mercer, Part 2, Preface, in the second column to the right of the screen, I want you to go down to a little below half where it's highlighted. It says, actually, I'll start from the top. It says, the contribution of this publication will be the first translation in English of the ancient pyramid text, the first complete translation and full commentary of the text in any language. Now, this is the text I use for my book, Codex Game Over. And in addition to the hieroglyphic text of Set and over 400 lines in translation from the pyramids of Neat and Pepi II. This is now let's pay very close attention to the next line, because this is very important. In addition to the filling of many lacunae in the body of the text from Neat, Pepi II, and other pyramid tombs and sarcophagi, discovered since the publication of Seat's unfinished translation. What does that mean? What is lacunae for all you geniuses out there? All right, for everybody who wants to say, oh, that text is wrong. Do you know what a lacunae is? Don't look it up because I did the work for you. Apparently, all of you want me to think for you and do the work for you, so that's what I'm going to do. Okay? Lacunae. Lacunae, an unfilled space or interval, a gap. So let's go back. It says that this translation, for the first time, they filled in the gaps where they were missing. Now, when they filled in the gaps, it doesn't mean that what they filled it in was incorrect. It just means that it was missing. That's it. And it doesn't take a lot of rocket science to figure out what the word was that was missing under certain circumstances. So you need to know that's very important. So they filled in a lot of spaces. The term comes from lacus, which means lake. Okay? It's a missing portion of a book or manuscript. Okay? That is what lacunae is, and they filled in these missing portions in the particular translation that I used. So that's why when you people go looking in James P. Allen's pyramid text, many of his does not have the filling of the lacunae. They kept the blanks, which was stupid. They kept the blanks, and they published it as is, so that it would make less sense. Okay, they know what they were doing. This is the pyramid from which the majority of the pyramid text that I used came from. It's called the Pyramid of Pepi II. It's in Egypt, Northeast Africa, not Northeast Europe or Northeast Asia or the Middle East or the Bronx or any other place. It is Africa. That's where this pyramid is. It's African architecture, and it is an African edifice. Okay, here we go. I'm going to skip who Pepi II was, but this is, I just want to skip that. Here's a picture of Pepi II, whose pyramid text I used, and he's sitting on his mother's lap on the left side of the screen. I don't know who those two white people are or who they're supposed to be on the right, but it seems as if they copied the iconography from the African people on the left. So I just wanted you to see that. That's Pepi II sitting on his mother's lap, okay? Now, this is Pepi II's father. As you can see, he was an African. He was a black man. You can look at his face and his features and tell. What does he look like to you, Sinray? Does he look like an Irish man to you? Does he look Italian to you? Does he look like a Frenchman to you? What does he look like?
Looks African to me.
Looks African, yes, absolutely. So that's what he was, okay? You can read about him later on when I do another presentation. Here he is again, okay? I'll read this part. Pepi I. This is the father of this is the father of Pepi II. He is the son of Unis. His two most important wives and the mother of his two successors, Median Ray Nimti Misaf I and Pepi II, were Ankh Esenpepi I and Ankh Esenpepi II. Other known wives include Meditites IV, Nubwinet, and Inanek Inti, who are buried in pyramids adjacent to that of Pepi. Meha, who is named in the tomb of her son Hornet Jerket, and the queen named Nejeftet, who is mentioned on relief fragments. He also had a son called Teti Ankh and two daughters. Eput II and Neith both became wives to Pepi II. Okay? Important wives and mother of two successors. Yes. So he is the father of Pepi II, whose pyramid text I used. And he's also the father of Neith, her name is mentioned at the bottom of this passage. I also used her pyramid text. In fact, this is the causeway to her pyramid. It's in Saqqara today in Egypt. If you look to the right side of the screen, you will see her pyramid. This is where my pyramid text came from, and to the left of the screen you can see the causeway. So the pyramid text used put it on me. The pyramid text used for Codex Game Over came from the pyramids that you just saw. The pyramid of Pepi II and this pyramid causeway that I just showed you just now, which is the pyramid of Queen Neith. Okay, put it back on the screen so you can see the pyramid of Queen Neith, please. Okay. Here we go. All right. Okay. So, that's the pyramid text of Queen Neith. Okay, her titles are on the low part of the stone. She was the wife and sister of Pepi II and the daughter of Pepi I. Okay? Let's be clear on where my pyramid text came from for my book, Codex Game Over. I didn't use just any old pyramid text. Okay, here we are, folks. We are at the meat of the discussion, which is the Nile Valley origin of the Holy Bible. Not the Israel origin or the Hebrew origin or the Christian origin or the Israelite origin. None of that silliness. None of that goofiness. This is the Nile Valley origin of the Holy Bible. Okay? And the lecture is Codex Game Over, a documented collation of the original ancient Egyptian African text and the later biblical plagiarized versions. Evidence you were never meant to see. Volume 1, the Pyramid Text. Okay? The first thing you need to understand about the Pyramid Text is that these are the most 4 important main actors in the Pyramid Text. The deceased king is always represented as N. Okay? N stands for, I'm still trying to figure out what N stands for. Does it stand for unus? Does it stand for noun, which means the person? I still don't know. So any of you who know, feel free to tell me. I know many Egyptologists who don't know. In any event, the dead king is important. Horus, at the bottom, God Heru, the Greek term Horus, he's important. God Asar, Greek Osiris, in the middle. He is the most important actor throughout the pyramid text. Okay? Throughout all of their eschatological texts, he is the most important actor. To the right of him is God Re, his father, his heavenly father. Re is not his earthly father. His earthly father was Geb, the earth itself. So just like Jesus, Osiris had an earthly father and a heavenly father. Jesus had Joseph and Jehovah, and Osiris had Geb and Re. So that's where it came from. Okay, now you know. Okay, and for those of you who think I'm making it up about Osiris being black, for all you white people watching, because I'm sure there's some white people watching. I know a lot of white folks are interested in what I'm doing, and you're all welcome to watch and learn. This is from Cambridge Encyclopedia. Egypt, BCE, 1350. Osiris was sun-rayed. His complexion was black and his hair was woolly. His complexion was black and hair was woolly. Isn't that the way they described Jesus in the Bible? Woolly hair. He was included in the slaughter of the innocents ordered by Typhon, from which he, of course, escaped. His legitimacy was proved by numerous miracles. Some of his doctrines appear in the Book of the Dead. He was crucified on the vernal equinox. He descended to hell, where he remained 3 days and nights to judge the dead, and rose again and ascended bodily into heaven. That's Cambridge Encyclopedia, page 107 108. Now, some of that I agree with, some of it I don't. But I just wanted you to see that we weren't making up the part about Osiris being black. Okay? In fact, if you go to a primary source, which is the pyramid text itself, this is what it says in the pyramid text. Remember those carvings that were carved into the wall of the pyramid of Unis? This is what they say. Utterance 593, verse 163b through verse 163d. It says, "They hastened to the place in which thou art. Thy sister Isis laid hold of thee, when she founded thee complete and great in thy name of great black." So there you have it. And he was also shown as having literally black skin, as you can see beneath the quote. And to the right, he's given standard African features with his wide nose, like mine, and his full lips, like mine. So yes, Asar was an African deity. So we are going to move on. Codex Game Over, the pyramid text. Now, this is not going to be a long session because I didn't plan on doing the whole lecture. I mean, depending on how much time we have left, I really wanted to come here to the very first collation in my book. Put it back on me for a sec. Thanks. I asked him to put the camera back on me just so I can greet you all and say Hotep and thank you for coming. Thank you for spending time with me so that I could explain some of this stuff to you. Okay? There's a lot to be explained, there's a lot to learn, and there's a lot to know. You're not going to learn it all overnight. So I'm going to try to go as slow as I possibly can, and so that you can learn what you need to learn. Okay? I have no idea how many of you are out there. Is there a way of us knowing that?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Well, in any event, we are at the very first collation in the book. And what it says is the ancient Egyptian original. I have the book in front of me. And in fact, as soon as Sinray gets the opportunity to, we're going to put it back on the screen. Okay? So they can read it with us. Hey man, my lips are so chapped. Okay. The first one is the Egyptian original. This is the one some Hebrew Israelite was, or I don't know if he was a Moorish Hebrew Israelite, Kemetic person, I don't know what he was. But he had a problem with this. He said, it says, thou wilt be born again. Utterance 412-732b. Over 2,000 years later, the Greco-Roman Christian Judeo copies reworked from the ancient Egyptian original. For you have been born again. Except a man be born again, ye must be born again. 1 Peter 1:23, John 3:3, John 3:7. So you can see where they took it from. The pyramid text, utterance 412-732b. Thou wilt be born again. Now, now I'm going to show it to you. Right to the next one. This is the actual screenshot from the page of Internet Sacred Archives where I took the pyramid text from. It says screen snapshot from Mercer's pyramid text 1952, Internet Sacred Text Archives. Utterance 412, verse 732b. It says, thou belongest to the Neku stars, the servants of Re, who are before the morning star. Thou wilt be born again. Do you see it? 732b. Thou wilt be born again. Shakka Ahmose did not put that there. It's there in the text. Now it reads further. It says, thou wilt be born again at thy new moons. Feast like the moon. Now, and then it continues on, while Re leans upon thee in the horizon. O deceased person. Okay? Now, go back to 732b, which is the one in the middle. It says, thou wilt be born again. Okay? Now, the part that the person had a problem with who was hounding me kept saying that in the text, again is not there. So if you read James P. Allen's translation, James P. Allen did not fill in the lacunae. Remember, I showed you what a lacunae was. James P. Allen did not fill in the lacunae. He left it blank so that it reads, thou wilt be born at thy new moons, like the moon. He even left out feast. Now, the problem with James P. Allen's translation is that it doesn't make sense in the context of how the text was meant to be read. Okay? If you are talking at a new moon, you are talking about something that is coming again. In other words, if you will be born at the new moon, only at the new moon, if you take again out, the text does not make sense. Because there is no such thing as a new moon occurring only once in the history of mankind. A new moon comes cyclically. It comes again and again and again. Therefore, if you are being compared to a new moon, that means you have to be compared to it in every way. You have to come again and again and again. That is why in the original text, they put again in the text, because that's the only way the text would make sense. It is the only way. Unless he can prove that the new moon, unless a critic can prove that a new moon happens only once in the history of the universe, then they have nothing to stand on. Then they don't make any sense and they don't understand what the author was saying. And in other words, they're ignorant. Okay? It says, thou wilt be born again at thy new moons. Feast like the moon. This is where the concept of being born again comes from. Because the human being himself was being contrasted with the heavenly bodies. Whether it be the sun, the moon, particularly the moon. Okay? So now, it's what you call a resurrection text. This is a resurrection text. As a resurrection text, it would not make sense if he says, thou wilt be born at thy new moons, like the moon. The text would not make sense as a resurrection text. As a resurrection text, it has to be, thou wilt be born again at thy new moons. Feast like the moon. Now I'm going to prove it to you. Okay. Put the screen on me for a second. This is for all of you. I'm not talking to the intelligent people watching me. And yes, I talk down to people if I think they deserve to be talked down to. So, for the dummies watching me, who are just watching to try to see my flaws or to see where I go left when I should go right, you really don't know anything about me other than what you've seen on side of the TV or this, that, and the other. By the time that I'm done with all of this, not just tonight, but as we go on and as we progress through, you're going to see that coming against me, you're pretty much way out of your league. But you're more than welcome to come. I welcome all of you because I'm going to answer all. I've been looking at YouTube, but I've been seeing everything everybody's been saying, all the Hebrew Israelites. I'm going to answer all of you, and I'm going to thoroughly embarrass all of you because I think it's warranted. A little bit of humility never hurt anyone, not even myself. Now, put it back on the screen. Utterance 412, the snapshot. This is Miriam F. Ayad, PhD. Miriam F. Ayad, PhD. She is the Associate Professor of Art History, Department of Art, PhD, Brown University, Department of Egyptology. Okay? Actually, that's where she graduated from. Okay? Associate Professor of Art History, Department of Art, PhD, Brown University, Ivy League College, Department of Egyptology, 2003. So this is fresh stuff. 2003, it's not that long ago. Dr. Ayad is Associate Professor of Art History in the Department of Art at the University of Memphis. She teaches Middle and Late Egyptian grammar and hieratic and offers courses in Coptic and ancient Egyptian literature as well as teaching world art courses. She also directs the opening of the Mouth Epigraphic Project at the Tomb of Hawa in Luxor, Egypt. Dr. Ayad is a peer reviewer for American Journal of Archaeology and the Journal of the American Research Center in Egypt. But that means that when it comes to ancient Egypt, she's a know-it-all. And she probably knows a hell of a lot more than you, and you. So we're going to see what she has to say about the text in my book. Okay, which text am I talking about? I'm talking about this text, 412, utterance 412, 732b, which this brother, I forget his name, kept telling me, oh, Shakka, that's incorrect. It doesn't say that. It doesn't say that. Well, if it doesn't say that, then that means it's not a resurrection text. But I'm going to prove to you that it is, in fact, a resurrection text, and it must therefore read, thou wilt be born again. Let's read what the good doctor says about my particular text. Let's see what she says. This is from a published study of hers that's online. You can read it. Okay? It's called Some Remarks on the Pyramid Text Inscribed in the Chapel of Amenertes I at Medina Habu by Miriam F. Ayad. Okay? I hope you, those of you who want to learn, I hope you're watching. Those of you who think you know, those of you who think that you are on my level when it comes to this, and I'll say that, not out of false pride, only because I know my level. You might really want to pay attention, okay? I'm going to read this for you. I would like you to look in the second column, okay? Should I read the whole thing or should I just read from the bottom? I'm going to read from the bottom. I have two things highlighted on the right column at the bottom. Look where they're highlighted. It says, 2 resurrection spells. This is Dr. Miriam F. Ayad, the woman with all of the PhDs in Egyptology and all the other in ancient Egyptian art and blah, blah, blah. She says, 2 resurrection spells, pyramid text 468 and pyramid text what? 412. I'm going to go back. What is my pyramid text? Utterance 412. That is the text she's talking about. Okay? The one that says that will be born again. Wow, what does she refer to it as? A resurrection spell. She says 2 resurrection spells. Pyramid text 468 and pyramid text 412 occupy most of the east wall. Okay? For Mr. Big Mouth out there who wanted to say I didn't know what I was talking about. Yeah. Okay? Yeah, one of us is stuck on stupid and it's not me. Okay? She continues. Utterances, she's also, utterances pyramid text 670, pyramid text 33 equals pyramid text 423, and pyramid text 454 inscribed on the west wall reinforce the resurrection theme already seen on the east wall. So she's saying that my text, which you see to the right of this page, the ancient Egyptian original, that will be born again, utterance 412, 732, which she said is on the eastern wall. She says that the scribe, she says on the left side, she says that the text inscribed on the west wall reinforced the resurrection theme already seen on the east wall. So you lose that bet. And if I would bet you $1,000, you would have lost it and you would have had to pay. The documentation is right there. It is a resurrection text. That's why it must read born again. You fool. Okay? And it says spell pyramid text 670. A later variant spell of 482 starts with, and she even reads the text. She even gives a translation to prove that it is a resurrection text. Listen to what she says. She says, the translation reads, Un ui petsin ui peut, which means the doors of the sky have been opened. The doors of the celestial expanses have been thrown open. It goes on to include, she says, if you go away, you will return. If you go to sleep, you will wake up. If you die, you will, say it, Sinray. Live. You will live. For the moron who kept following me from show to show, telling me that my text was wrong, yes, you are a moron. You are incorrect. Have your documentation in order when you step to me, because I will embarrass you if you don't. Okay? Now, yes, I will read it again. The text reads, the pyramid text on the western wall witnesses to the pyramid text on the eastern wall. It says at the bottom in the left column on this page that I'm on, Miriam F. Ayad, it says, if you go away, you will return. If you go to sleep, you will wake up. If you die, you will live. Hence, the ancient Egyptian original, that will be born again. Utterance 412, 732b. The pyramid text, ancient Egypt. I just documented it for you. She even tells you in that study exactly which pyramid it comes out of. Okay? The pyramid text of Amenertis. Okay? It says it right here, are inscribed on the lower register of the east, west, and north walls of the passage surrounding her cella. So now you know what pyramid text it comes from. The pyramid text of Amenertis. Okay? I didn't even realize that till just now. It never dawned on me because I look at so much text sometimes that I miss out on it. So put it on me, please. Now, for the moron out there, and I'm going to keep referring to you as a moron because you will not leave me alone for a month telling me that my text was wrong, it could not be found in the pyramid text, and blah, blah, because you were looking in the wrong place. That's why. Had you looked in the pyramid text of Amenertis, you would have found it. There's a whole entire study on it done by this doctor, Miriam F. Ayad, PhD. Okay, she's the Associate Professor of Art History at the Department of Art in the Department of Art at the University of Memphis. This is a woman who's the Associate Professor of Art History, Department of Art, PhD, Brown University, Department of Egyptology. I kind of think she knows a little bit more than you about this, so I'll keep it moving. Okay? Here we go. So basically, yeah, my put it on me, please. Yeah. My text stands corrected, substantiated by the PhDs. My text stands. You lose. Thank you. Thou will be born again. Originally from the pyramid text, not the Bible. Sorry, get over it. Okay? Now, black folks, boy, I tell you, I love my people, but they try your nerves. Okay. Love my people with a passion. I wouldn't be sitting here doing this if I didn't love my people. Okay? Now, Horus is risen. Yes. That's what it says in the ancient Egyptian original. Now, I'm not going to go through all of my pyramid texts because that's not what this lecture is about. I just wanted to first clarify why I used two. Okay, let's rehash before we move forward. Let's talk about what this lecture is actually about. This lecture was what pyramid text did I use? Okay? The pyramid text that I used was the first English translation by Samuel A.B. Mercer. So we're just rehashing now so that when you're talking about Codex Game Over, you can tell people what pyramid text I used. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm sitting here lecturing so that when people ask you questions, you can answer them. So when they say, well, what pyramid text did he use because it's not in the book? You can refer to this broadcast and you can tell them he used the pyramid text translation by Samuel A.B. Mercer, 1952. The first translation in English and the first complete translation of the pyramid text in any language. I didn't use just any translation for my text. When you get my stuff, you're getting the top notch, the good stuff. Okay? Here we go. Let's be clear on that. Okay? You're going to find out as you get to know me why I can rock this. Okay? Now, let's also rehash. We also discovered, like really literally a few minutes ago, that my first text, That Will Be Born Again, actually came from the pyramid text of Amenerdis. For those of you who want to find it, Amenerdis, Amenerdis. That's where my pyramid text came from, okay? At least for that particular one. So what else did we discover? So that's why I used Samuel B. Mercer's translation for my text for Codex Game Over, right? And we also discovered that my very first collation, That Will Be Born Again, my very first collation, That Will Be Born, the first collation in the book, That Will Be Born Again, right here, for those of you who can't see it, right? It's right there. I'm pointing right at it. My finger right there. It says, That Will Be Born Again. Okay? Now, for those of you who have the book, when somebody asks you, oh, well, it didn't say again. Yes, it does. You know which one to go to? Amenerdis pyramid text. And you can also go to Miriam F.H. PhD or Miriam F. Ayad PhD. You can go to her study called Some Remarks on the Pyramid Text Inscribed in the Chapel of Amenerdis the First at Medina Habu by Miriam F. Ayad. So that's where it comes from. The Chapel of Amenerdis. Oh, so my pyramid text came out of the Chapel of Amenerdis. Okay, at Medina Habu. See, I didn't know that until just now. I love to learn, okay? But I knew that they were authentic, and I knew that the translation was correct. And for me, that was good enough, okay? Now I know exactly which ones. So now we know that my pyramid text, for the first one, Thou Will Be Born Again, comes out of the Chapel of Amenerdis at Medina Habu, okay? And now you know, okay? So, those are the two main things that you have learned about this book. I used Samuel B. Mercer's pyramid text, published in 1952, the original English translation, and you can read them on the Internet Sacred Text Archives online. I'm going to repeat it. Internet Sacred Text Archives. Google it, it will come up, and you can read it. All you have to do is just type in Samuel Mercer pyramid text, put that in Google, it'll take you right to the index and you can read it for yourself, okay? So it's there. Now, what are we going to discuss now? Now we are going to talk about why I used Samuel Mercer's text and not Faulkner's text, okay? This is going to be very, very important that I'm about to show you. What I'm about to show you, oh yeah, see, you can see the, put it on the screen, please. Okay. These are what the people of ancient Kemet look like. Do you see it? Okay? Do they look Irish to you? Sinray, do they look Irish to you?
Sure don't.
Do they look Italian to you?
Nope.
Do they look German to you?
Nope.
Do they look Greek to you?
Sure don't.
Do they look Roman to you?
Not at all.
Not at all. What do they look like to you? Look like black folks, huh? Okay. All right. All right. What are we going to look at? An examination of the ancient Egyptian religious texts used to solicit the gods for eternal survival. The Papyrus of Ani, otherwise mistakenly known as the Book of the Dead. Now, I'm going to read this to you, and you are going to understand why I do not use Faulkner's translations. I used one or two of his in my book, Codex Game Over, only where his translation provided what I needed. But other than that, I don't use his translations. And you're going to find out why. Okay? This is from a study called The Examination of an Ancient Egyptian Religious Text Used to Solicit the Gods for Eternal Survival. I highly recommend that you sit with me as I read through this because you're going to learn a lot. Here we go. I recently purchased, this is the author, whose name I do not know, by the way. I do know that he knows what he's talking about, but I do not know his name. I only have the study, and I gave you the title of the study. Read it again. Look at the title of the study. Examination of an Ancient Egyptian Religious Text Used to Solicit the Gods for Eternal Survival. Write it down. And then you can go read it online. I'm going to show you how to fight back as a person of ancient Egyptian affinity, if you will. If you subscribe to the worldview of ancient Egypt as a black person, I'm going to show you how to fight back. But without the knowledge, you cannot fight back. So here we go. I'm going to read the study that this person wrote. He or she said, I recently purchased a copy of the Papyrus of Ani, the Egyptian Book of the Dead, translated by Raymond Faulkner, with some emendation by Ogden Golet, Jr. Chronicle Books, San Francisco, 1994. James Wasserman conceived the project. He's an Egyptologist. It is a beautiful reproduction of an original papyrus from circa 1250 BC in full color, but reduced in size about 40% from the original. Apparently, this is the first reprint of the papyrus published in 1890 in full size by Wallace Budge under the sponsorship of the trustees of the British Museum. Now pay attention. At that time, the interested reader was expected to purchase the text, transliteration, and translation published in 1895 in a separate volume. Budge repeats all hieroglyphs in the latter to obtain his transliteration. Okay? Dover reprint, 1967. My interest was a study of ancient Egyptian religious beliefs, and especially the role of Osiris. I wanted to use the most original and reliable sources I could find, without the intervening and possibly interpretive altering of the meaning of the text from that intended by the ancient scribes. So the person who wrote this study wanted to find the most original ancient Egyptian text he could find, or the most original translation, one that had not been interfered with in recent times. So he says about the book, this Egyptian Book of the Dead translated by Faulkner, he says, in an introduction by Wasserman states, this is a quote, several issues regarding this edition need to be discussed. My original idea developed in detail for several years. So Wasserman is talking about his original idea to reproduce this Book of the Dead. All right? Using Faulkner and all this other stuff. My original idea developed in detail for several years and was to follow the Ani Papyrus word for word. I plan to use Budge's translation and his excellent key to the hieroglyphics to present the text and images on the same page. Dr. Ogden Gole, however, probably a Jew, made clear first that Budge's translation falls far short of modern standards. See, this is how they get you. They use this word called standards. Whose standards? They don't tell you. So they said, no, we're not going to use Budge's translation, right? And he said it falls short of the standards. And second, that the hieroglyphic text of the Ani Papyrus itself is of uneven quality. So they found all of these excuses to go in there and to mess with Budge's work and to redo it their way. Okay? He says, often much inferior to the excellence of Vigne's. So in other words, Budge's translations were not good enough to be next to the pictures they were originally next to in Budge's original publication. So Ogden proposed, He said he proposed that we use Faulkner's translation below the images of the Ani papyrus. So in other words, move Budge and put Faulkner in under Budge's pictures. This is what you call academic subterfuge or academic espionage. Okay? Budge would be rolling over in his grave. Okay. So, yeah. He proposed we use Faulkner's translation below the image of the Ani papyrus, supplemented by his own translations where necessary. Woof. Our text would then represent the best translation from the best Egyptological sources for the specific chapter illustrated in the Ani papyrus. Thus, this volume combines the finest modern scholarship with the most beautifully illuminated ancient papyrus. Now, this is what Wasserman said in the introduction of this new finagling version of the Book of the Dead that they put together using Budge's pictures and Faulkner's translations. Okay? So the author of this study says, I question that this is an accurate statement. This remark led me to examine Budge's publication and to compare translations. See, this is where you got to get smart. He compared Budge's translations to Faulkner's translation. Put the cam on me. For those of you who are watching, I want you to understand what's about to take place. The author of this study compared Budge's translation with Faulkner's translation to find out which one of them was trying to be honest in their translation. See, this is how they get you. Okay? I'm going to show you how they get you. Let's continue on back on the screen, please. Right? He said, this remark led me to examine Budge's publication and to compare translations. Certainly over the past 100 years, much greater understanding of the ancient script has evolved. Since Budge's translation is still used widely among interested laypersons, I wondered what differences existed and were they important? How might they affect my understanding and that of others? So he wanted to see just how different Budge's translation was from the New Standard. So he says, he went through the first 10 columns of text in conducting his comparisons as a test sample. For convenience, I used Budge's translations to show the differences. I discovered the following items. Pay attention, people. Those who pay attention will win. Those who do not, lose. Number 1, Faulkner or Gole stripped 2 phrases completely. The first is in column 1 in the opening remarks. Behold, Osiris Ani, the scribe who records the holy offerings of all the gods. Faulkner and Gole reduced it to by Ani. That's all they did. They just said by Ani. So they took out, behold, Osiris Ani, the scribe who records the holy offerings of all the gods, and all they put in was by Ani. Like if you read my book and it says by Shakka Ahmose. Not behold Osiris Shakka, the scribe who records the holy offerings of all the gods. They just put by Shakka or by Ani. Okay? So they censored it, they took out, they emendated it. Okay? The second was in column 5. To the Ka of Osiris, the scribe Ani, triumphant before Osiris. This was just reduced to the Ka of Ani. So Faulkner was taking out words from the translation. He was sanitizing it so it wouldn't sound so religious. He didn't want it to sound too biblical. He wanted to hide the connection. Okay? Then he says, then the author says, a third removal is in column 8, where the attributes Prince, life, health, and strength of Ra are ignored. So they don't even put it in the text. They just completely took it out the text. This is why I don't fuck with Faulkner. Faulkner was an agent to come in and sanitize the text. So when you read Budge's translation, Budge left in all of the religious sentiments, the religious and high esteemed observations, all of the religious language. Put it on me for a second. Oh, it's on me, right? Yeah. Budge left in. I'll leave it up to your discretion to go back and forth, okay? Unless I, need something out of necessity. So Faulkner is just taking out whole passages in his translation of the Book of the Dead. That's why I didn't use his pyramid text, because he did the same thing in the pyramid text. Okay? I can't find anybody else's coffin text, although I recently found out that there's one by Gardner. I'd like to get my hands on it. But Faulkner's is the standard. That's $800. I got it. I paid for it. But this is why I don't mess with Faulkner's pyramid text, and why I use Samuel B. Mercer's for my book. Because Samuel B. Mercer didn't leave stuff out. In fact, he was adding the correct things in. While Faulkner comes along, and like this passage here says, he's taking stuff out, whole passages. Then the author continues and says, why Faulkner should remove these phrases is puzzling if he intended to be faithful to the text. Did he feel they did not carry significant meaning? How many phrases were removed through the rest of the text? And number 2, in column 7, Faulkner translates Eneids, the Greek word for 9 gods. Apparently the idea of 9 is common to the meaning of this glyph. Budge had trouble here, altering the first part of the glyph to mean substance when a group designation should be understood. I could see no reason why this glyph should not be read simply as many gods. Then he says, can anyone offer suggestions? That tells you that the person writing the study reads and writes Medunecha, because he saw where both Faulkner and Budge fell short in the translation. That's why I left it in this presentation, okay? To show you that the person that did this study, this contrasting of Faulkner and Budge, is not some dummy sitting in high school somewhere, or somebody running around Facebook saying, I know this and I know that, okay? It's somebody who actually reads and writes Medunecha. There are people on Facebook who read and write Medunecha, like Brother Sanjetti and others, right, who I have a lot of respect for, Infudishi and others, Raketi Amen, Seba, right, Brother Reggie, okay? So, number 3, and so that is where it gets evil, where Faulkner gets really evil, and why I don't use his translations. Number 3, in several cases, Faulkner translated sky instead of the older word heaven. Why did he do that? Because he didn't want those Africans having an idea of heaven. So he sanitized it and just put sky in the translation. This is a dramatic shift in the understanding. All old people understood heaven as a realm populated by spirit personalities who express desire, will, and purpose. The Egyptians subscribed to just such a belief. The word sky denotes the vault containing only the stars, without significance of being populated by celestial personalities. Such translation betrays the intent of the scribes who reflected their culture. Hence, it virtually obliterates our ability to penetrate their religious psychology. As I said, Faulkner was an agent. Okay? Where am I? This alteration certainly is a considerable deterrent to understanding the old text. In other words, Faulkner tried to make it more difficult for you to understand what the Africans were saying when they wrote the pyramid text, the Pere Imheru, what they call the Book of the Dead, or the Book of Coming Forth by Day, and the coffin text. Faulkner tried to make it more difficult for you to understand. He tried to separate it from the Bible language because they didn't want Christians thinking that, and Hebrews thinking that their literature came from Africans in the Nile Valley. So they brought Faulkner in to change stuff up, and that's what he did. Number 4, go back to the text. A similar betrayal is seen when Faulkner in column 9 translate, may thought and ma'at write to you daily. Budge has thought and ma'at, both are your recorders. That makes sense. The idea of celestial beings serving as recorders to the gods is again prevalent in the beliefs of many ancient people. They are personalities who preserve a record of the conduct of both mortals and immortals. This record then is used as a basis by which judgment may be made on subservient personalities. You know, the Book of Life, we've all heard of it, right? That judgment is the final determiner of survival in eternity. Egyptian religious belief is rife with such concepts. In my opinion, Faulkner here truly subverts the intent of the scribes. In other words, Faulkner tries to mess things up so that you cannot understand what the scribe, what the African writer was actually saying. That's why I did not use Faulkner's translation or James P. Allen's translation, because James P. Allen relies on Faulkner. You have to know something about your translators. You fools who tried to say Shakka didn't know what he was talking about when he used the particular translation that he used. I know this stuff better than I know my own first name. I know this stuff better than I know my own home. Are you on drugs? I would think so. So you can keep Faulkner's translation, and you can keep James P. Allen's translation. I only use Faulkner's translation for the coffin text because I would have to admit that they're the best available, okay? At least that I've seen or that I know of, okay? I'll repeat that last line. Faulkner here truly subverts the intent of the scribes. Move on to the next one. Another interesting alteration is found in column 6, where I would translate givers of ka and celestial food. The phrase follows the statement about the gods who pass judgment on the dead. Budge offered, who provide food and abundance of meat. Faulkner says, who give food and provisions. Clearly oh, that's not really important. I'll move on to the next line. He just says, other problems confront me, but this should be sufficient to show why I view the translation, Faulkner's translation of the Book of the Dead, as not faithful to the original purpose of the document. Okay? That's why I put it back on me. Okay? Codex Game Over is officially exonerated. You cannot poo-poo on Codex Game Over. I used the best available translation by the best available translator, the original 1952 English translation by Mercer, which was the first translation in English and the first complete translation of the pyramid text in any language. What you got for me? Hebrew Israelite or Christians? What you got for me? Nothing. You can't see me yet. You have to study for about another 50 years before you can see me. Okay. Now, you still won't get it then. Okay? Let's look at page. Okay? Here he's showing you the contrast. Faulkner wrote, worship of Re when he rises in the eastern horizon of the sky by Ani. Now, when you look at Budge's translation, Budge kept the whole thing that the scribe put in there. A hymn of praise to Ra when he riseth in the eastern part of heaven. Behold, Osiris Ani, the scribe who recordeth the holy offerings of all the gods. Right? And look what Faulkner did. Go back to the left. Faulkner said, worship of Re when he rises in the eastern horizon of the sky by Ani. He stripped the text. He subverted the text. He tried to deceive you. This is why I don't mess with Faulkner if I can avoid it. Transliteration from Budge with comparisons to facsimile volume. Adoration of Ra when he rises in the eastern horizon of the heaven. Behold, Osar, the scribe of the holy offerings of all the gods, Ani. That was from the comparison to the facsimile. That's straight from the text. That's not even Budge's translation of Faulkner. That's straight from the text. Okay? Here we go. From Budge with with comparisons to facsimile volume. Okay, here we go. So here he goes on to, this is the last page. Pay attention. Read A first. Over the past century, an evolution of concept has taken place in the scholarly world, from views of God and heaven with which the Egyptian works are replete, to new godless ideas that profoundly alter the meaning. They're in there fucking with the African text. They're tinkering with it so that it doesn't sound too heavenly and doesn't mention too many things that sound like God, or doesn't show where the Bible actually came from. So they're trying to cover it up. That's what the author of this study is saying. Over the past century, an evolution of concept has taken place in the scholarly world, from views of God and heaven with which the Egyptian works are replete, to new godless ideas that profoundly alter the meaning. Worship becomes merely occult observance. Heaven becomes the sky. According to the old views, heaven is populated by intelligent and purposeful beings. The sky has no population. Faulkner substitutes sky 3 times in this short passage. Thus, we see an effort by modern scholars to transform the intent of the ancient text to their views, not to express the intent of the ancient Egyptians. This is scholarly perversion. It denies the meaning of the text. It violates intellectual integrity. B, an entire phrase is eliminated in the Faulkner translation. Behold, Asar, the scribe of the holy offerings of all the gods. Please put the camera back on me. Is it on me? See that? I rest my case. Any one of you who have tried to cast aspersion on Codex Game Over only did so out of 100% pure ignorance. Because I will say it, you are not on my level. I don't say that, no, I don't know. Let me not say that. I don't want to come off as prideful or arrogant. The bottom line is that you were wrong. You tried to critique my text and my book in a state of ignorance because you didn't do your homework. You didn't do your due diligence. You understand? Okay? The scholarship that is associated and affiliated with Codex Game Over is beyond anything you have ever accomplished, as far as your own studies have taken you in this area. Because if that were not the case, you would have never tried to assail the scholarship associated with this book. The scholarship associated with this book is impeccable. I admit I did get one verse wrong. It's one about Chronicles, and I listed somewhere, but I got 99.9%, 100% correct. Right? Because I'm that good. So yeah, you just saw the scholarship, okay? Refute it. Go ahead, waste your time. Try to refute it. Silly goose. My name is Shakka Ahmose. Come on, figure it out. So that concludes my presentation on Codex Game Over and why it is a superior collation and the one of its kind, and why you want to purchase it and why you want to own it. Because the scholarship is off the chain, baby. It's Nile Valley Movement scholarship standard, and we don't play. Okay? Okay. So with that, Sinray, when are we going to do our next presentation? When is the next MVM presentation so we can let them know to tune in? Just to let y'all know, my goal is to do a PowerPoint every day. Every day. Or at least, yeah, every day. If I won't do it here, I'll do it someplace else. But every day, to teach every day. Because all of you are asking me, I'm getting emails from Africa, emails from London, emails from the Netherlands, emails from Paris, emails from Brazil, emails from all over Africa. Everybody's asking me to teach. Well, here you go. I'm teaching. And I'm going to continue it. And I'm not going to stop. Ancestors willing. I'm going to give you everything that I have. But this is going to be real scholarship. It's not going to be the silly stuff that you're accustomed to. It's going to be real scholarship. Okay? Okay. Okay? So I don't know when the next one will be, but if you are in the Nile Valley Movement Facebook group, you will be the first to be alerted and notified. So yeah, just check it out. Perhaps we might even put a link on a YouTube page where this is going to, they're not going to be able to see this on YouTube, right?
Yes and no.
Yes and no.
Yes. We created you a new page which takes advantage of the paid subscription.
Okay.
So
what page is that? Is that the Nile Valley Movement YouTube page? The one we've been working with, or is it a brand new one you're talking about?
It's a brand new one.
Oh, okay. See, I don't know nothing about that page.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. My sin is official.
Don't you hate to be last to know?
My sin is official. Real talk. I don't mind being the last to know. Not when it comes to you. Because whatever's going down, I already know it's in my interest, so I don't really care. I'm good. It's in the interest of NVM, the Nile Valley movement. You feel me?
Since since YouTube is so universal, for select individuals, there's an apparatus.
Oh, I remember. Right. So yeah, we can talk about that later. Right. So yeah, you'll be able to see this on YouTube as well. All right. So we'll post a link inside the Nile Valley Movement group for you. Okay, just so that you know. So just want to let you know, it's on and popping. You can't see me when it comes to the scholarship on this book, so don't even try it. Okay? Don't even try it. Because if I get you on stage, I'm going to really embarrass you. And that's coming anyway in February. So it is what it is. So, I've tried to be nice, but I've been looking at everything everybody's been saying. And I don't think that you deserve niceness from me. So I'm just going to give my people the truth. I'm going to show them why I don't mess with Faulkner unless I have to. I showed them where the text came from, which pyramid it came from. They came from the pyramids of Pepi II and Neat, also from the chapel of Amenertis at Medina Habu, and from various other ones. And they're the first translation in English and the first translation of a complete translation in any language. So bada bing, bada bang. With the text restored the way it's supposed to be read. Okay? People like Faulkner, they leave the blanks there so you can read it as if nothing else was there. They don't even let you know that there was a blank there when you read their text. That's how they really psychologically get you. You think you're reading the whole text and you're not. Okay? So, this is how we get down the Nile Valley movement. We don't play. All right? We don't play when it comes to this text. All right? We say it, you can take it to the bank. Am I right, Sinray?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And the word for yes in Medunecha is chu. So when you hear us say tu, that means we saying yes. That means we saying absolutely. Tu, Sinray? Tu? Tu. T-I-U. If you had Mejat Wafa by Raketi Amen, you would know that. Tu. That means yes. Okay? If you want to say no, you say nene. Nene. Okay? Now, with that said, I'm going to go eat. And I want to thank you all for watching. What time is it, Sinmay?
The time is now 11:51.
It's 11:51. So we gave them what? Roughly about an hour and a half?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's pretty darn good. Don't you? Because, see, I lose track of time when I'm doing it. So for me, it feels like it's only been like 15 minutes. You feel me? So I want to thank you all for tuning in. You now know, and you can now speak authoritatively. You can now speak authoritatively on this book and on this text because I gave you the backdrop story of where the translation came from, why I chose that translation, and why I avoided Faulkner's translation. You also saw it borne out that the very first one, which is the most important one, thou will be born again, was attested to by the good doctor from Brown University as being a resurrection text. And therefore, the again, in the lacunae, I showed you what lacunae meant. And if not, all you got to do is play this back from the beginning and you'll get it all again because it's all there. It's all tight. It all fits. You understand? All fits. Just like the blocks. It's like the stone blocks in the Merkut Khufu. In the what you call the Great Pyramid. The Merkut Khufu. It's really the Merkat Khufu. Okay? So, in any event, Hotep. Yeah, why is somebody opening my door? Or trying to open my door? Hold up. Excuse me.